All right, hello everyone and welcome to the first live stream of the 6-week Affiliate Mastery Challenge. Before we get too deep into things, the first thing we need to do is a sound check and a video check. So can you guys ping me on the forum, send me chat messages and whatever to let me know A, if everything's working for you, and B, if the volume level, for example, is okay. So I'm going to disappear off screen for a while and just wait for you guys to hit me up. Okay, perfect. It looks like things are working well for everyone. I'm getting various chats and notifications appearing on my screen telling me so, as well as messages through the support ticket kind of system on the platform. So that's all good. So before I begin, I just want to outline the contingency for live streaming. So when I first did this in the pilot program, as I kind of expected, there were faults and errors that we encountered, and like my internet just going down right in the middle of a live stream and stuff like that. So the way I operate here is we play it by quarters. So if something happens, we get disconnected, there's a power cut or something explodes in my building or something like that, I'll try to start streaming again at the next 15-minute interval and start there so that everyone kind of knows when things are going to start rolling again. Right, okay, so first of all, thank you for joining the course. Thank you for being part of the 6-week Affiliate Mastery Challenge. And thank you for being lenient and dealing with all the issues we had at the beginning. We kind of built a custom platform for this because what we wanted to do with this training is a little different to what everyone else is doing and to what any other systems offered. So we built this custom platform, and as you can imagine with any platform development, the moment you throw 100 people at it from all over the world, you manage to find bugs and things that you never thought existed. But we've fixed a lot of those, and hopefully you've seen a lot of the improvements. One thing which we took down relatively quickly was the global chat, because we realized it was the biggest performance issue. Now, the global real-time chat is kind of one of the core things that we want to have in this course, and it's one of the things most people actually enjoyed. So we will be bringing that back. The forum is here kind of for discussion of specific topics, and say if you want to show screenshots of your campaign and your banners and things, and you want feedback and that kind of stuff, it's great for that. And it's also good to have a nice history of organized topics and threads to actually browse through that are nice and persistent and easy to actually navigate. Whereas with chat, inevitably stuff gets lost after several days of it being in the backlog. But the global chat is much, much better for real-time discussion. So we are trying to bring that back. When we do bring that back, we will disable the chat in the forum so that the forum itself can be more for announcements and threads and so on, like a typical forum. But that should hopefully happen this week, relatively soon, I promise you that. And we will use the live chat when we're actually doing future live streams so that you can interact with me live, albeit with a 30 to 60 second delay, which is what we get with YouTube. So I'm using YouTube for streaming just because it's very, very convenient. I'm actually in Thailand at the moment, and I trust Google in terms of streaming to their data centers and things not breaking down and my internet actually being fast enough, because the data center I'm streaming to is probably right around the corner. Now, one thing I did just realize now, due to someone else contacting me, is that if you're in Germany, you can't actually view live streams from YouTube. So if you are in Germany or you know someone from Germany who's complaining about the fact they can't see this, this is a very, very practical and obvious use case for something like Viper VPN to just circumvent by going through France or going through the Netherlands or whatever. So do that. Okay, that's pretty much all I wanted to go over there. One thing I should mention is the vendor spotlight is now up, and GoToMobi has just appeared in that. So you can now go over there and register with GoToMobi directly, view the details about that. With respect to the network, the affiliate network and the offers, we're going to announce this late next week. We'll kind of announce it at the same time because they kind of come hand in hand, and there's really no huge rush there because it'll be streamlined so you're not really left behind, and then we'll be launching campaigns at the start of week 3. Okay, I'm pretty sure that's everything I wanted to go over before I get into questions. So what I'll do now is I'll just look at the live Q&A thread and go through everything one by one and respond to chats and messages and things that I get. Do be aware with the live Q&A, it's best if the topics are kind of relevant to that week or to stuff we've already done. So if there are questions which are about like angles and landing pages or things that we're doing in week 2 or in week 3. No offense, but I might skip them so that they're more relevant then, rather than answering things that I'm just going to answer in a video in like a week's time. Anyway, okay, so let's go through the live Q&A. Actually, I'll stop for 1 second and disappear just to check messages to make sure no one's got a catastrophe they're trying to deal with or any problems. Okay, everyone looks to be fine. Someone was asking about live chat, I think, on YouTube. I can turn that on, but to be honest, it's better to have these questions on the forum because it's easier for me to read through rather than the chat, which kind of gets a bit distracting and you spend some time sort of wading through the backlog of people spamming you with questions. So if you do have a question, just put it in the forum thread, which kind of updates in real time, or just send it to me in a private message. Okay, let's get started. Okay. Masterminds. So Zeno, you mentioned masterminds this week. Would you recommend us already starting forming some between AMC students? Yes, great question. Masterminds are great. I can't remember how much I actually talked about masterminds in week 1. I do talk about these a little bit later as well. The thing with masterminds is, 1, they should be small. So 4 people is kind of is a good size. You don't, 5 and 6 is getting a bit too big. You also want to make sure they're very focused. So don't start a mastermind for deploying mobile campaigns. That's a terrible mastermind. You want a mastermind that's focused on deploying, whatever offer campaigns on GoToMobi. This is kind of a bit focused inherently because of the prescribed campaigns for the course, but deploying mobile campaigns on GoToMobi, using certain banner sizes, doing this specific geography of the offer that's been prescribed, and then delegate responsibilities. So maybe you say 1 member does France, 1 member does Germany, 1 member does the Netherlands, like if those are the countries involved, and so on. And for the various people in the mastermind, whoever's better at certain things, have them focus on that. So if one person is much better at tracking than the other people, have them be in charge of setting up the tracking. If one person's much better with making animated banners, have them do that, and so on. It all kind of comes down to keeping it small, making it very focused. Generally similar skill levels is another thing. Don't have one where someone's extremely, far more experienced and they either do all the work or they can't be bothered contributing that much because they're kind of doing everything themselves. That kind of unbalances things and it doesn't work that well. So keep them relatively balanced and you keep them small, focused. I can't even remember what I'm saying anymore. The other thing is, if someone is not pulling their weight and they're not really contributing equally to the mastermind, you need to kick that person out. So make it very clear from the beginning, or at least, okay, I'll make it very clear now. If you're in a mastermind, you need to pull your weight, and if you can't, you should just leave because you're compromising that mastermind. But do I recommend starting masterminds right now? You can, but I would probably recommend closer to the end of week 2 when you know the actual offer and things that you're working with and you've explored GoToMobi and everyone kind of has a little bit of a better idea about what they're getting themselves into. Okay, and if I ever answer a question and you still kind of want some clarification there, again, just ping me on the forum by live chat and tell me to go back to that. Okay, question 2. It is often said to stick to a vertical and traffic source. I can understand the logic behind sticking to a vertical but not to traffic source. What are some insights when sticking to one? Okay, so with the point you end with having a problem of not having enough traffic, that's a good problem to have. That's not a problem you're going to run into on most DSPs if you're not working with tiny geographies. So on GoToMobi, for example, in France, you might be able to spend $35,000 a day, for example, just broadly across all of the traffic. And that's just some sort of arbitrary number I pulled out of thin air. But worrying about not having enough traffic because of the traffic sources, that's a higher level problem. You worry about that when you have working campaigns. And to get working campaigns, it's better to focus on a specific traffic source first, and then you can scale. So with mobile DSPs, for example, it makes more sense to focus on GoToMobi and none others initially. And the reason for that is certain traffic sources have their own ways of implementing things. They have their own user interfaces, their ways of dealing with tracking, different ad pacing algorithms, different placements, exchanges, and so on. It just makes sense to focus on learning one, figuring out how it works, before you start jumping to other things. If you jump to another DSP and you start testing there, it may go well, it may go terribly, but in any case, your chances of success are much lower if you left the previous traffic source without truly knowing that much about it, not knowing the nuances with ad delivery and with bidding and so on. So it's kind of one of those things where it gets repeated by experienced marketers all the time, so you kind of have to take it on faith. There's pros and cons to all of it, but focusing on specific traffic sources generally a good idea. The only time I wouldn't recommend that is when the traffic source is terrible or has very little traffic to begin with. In that case, it's probably a silly starting point, but you don't need to worry about that with something like a mobile DSP like GoToMobi, unless you're planning to run like campaigns in Morocco or something, and that's your end game. Okay, question 3. The rising stars have higher user interaction rate than normal usual ads, but they are quite larger. Okay, so rising stars, they are something that I wanted to present to you just so that you had a better idea of what kind of ad types were available in the mobile and desktop display ecosystem. The fact is you probably won't use rising stars much. You're more likely to encounter them either in native advertising or units that are similar to that, or with much higher level media buys and display advertising. To be honest, like on the mobile DSPs that you're going to be using, no one really cares about rising stars, like the adhesion banners and the film strips and stuff like that. They're kind of weird, but I've never really even seen or heard of anyone actually advertising with them, but they are kind of a standard ad unit. So yes, they will cost more. They're more effective, their performance is higher, and the cost is always commensurate with that. Now, in terms of actually using them, to be perfectly honest, I would just realize their existence, acknowledge that they exist, and realize why they now exist versus traditional banners on desktop, and then kind of move away from them and don't even worry about them, because the only rising stars I really see in my travels are heavily branded things on high-profile websites rather than typical ads run by affiliate marketers. Okay, next question on tiers. A list of Tier 1, Tier 2, Tier 3 geographies. So yes, that's correct. So first of all, to clarify here, Tier 1, 2, 3 is it's not like an official thing. There is no official list because this is not an authoritative thing. There's no consensus or definition of what is Tier 1, what is Tier 2, what is Tier 3. Is it based on GDP of the population or of the country? I have no idea. But the main thing is it has to do with affluence and how rich that country is, and generally how affluent the users are in that country. And in the affiliate marketing, sort of industry, the payouts for various offers tend to scale with the affluence of those countries, because the amount advertisers can make per person kind of scales with that as well. So your Tier 1 countries are United States, Australia, New Zealand, the UK and Canada, all of the affluent English-speaking countries. And then you have the rich European nations like France and Germany, and you have and Switzerland and Belgium and so on. And then you have Scandinavia, and you have Finland and Norway and Sweden, and you have the Netherlands, of course. These are all just the countries where you would consider people quite affluent, and where you might consider it relatively expensive to live there. So if you're an affiliate marketer and a nomad and you're traveling around the world, if you think that place is expensive to live, chances are it's Tier 1. Tier 2, so in Tier 2 it has Sweden, Norway, Netherlands, Italy. So I think countries like the Scandinavian countries have really kind of moved to Tier 1, but the Tier 1, Tier 2 divide is kind of arguable. You could argue whether something's Tier 1 or Tier 2. Canada's definitely Tier 1. So these lists kind of change over time, and it depends on who you're actually talking to. In Tier 2, you have a lot of countries as well where people aren't that affluent, but the amount of people there, like the volume and the amount of monetization that's happening in that country, is really shooting up. So Spain, Italy, and Brazil, for example, there's a lot of heavy advertising there, and the ability to monetize users has kind of gone up and up and up over time. And so they're kind of considered tier 2. Tier 3 are the countries where traffic is generally very cheap, users aren't that affluent, and payouts are generally a lot lower. So the big countries like India and Mexico and Turkey, where there's a lot of people and the GDP and affluence isn't that high. Lots of Latin America. I would never consider South Africa tier 3 anymore, or at least parts of South Africa. Generally payouts are quite high in South Africa. Anyway, in terms of that list, don't worry about it. Just know that people kind of separate them by tiers, and it's relatively arbitrary, and it's not even very important at all. Okay, what is our next question? For the Q&A, I wonder if it feels weird having me read out your question. Does it? I don't know. For the Q&A, I'd like to know if the learning curve for creating most of the ads in the Rising Stars category is much more than creating basic banners and so on. Do the Rising Star ads require heavy use of scripts? Okay, so the Rising Stars, they're almost certainly going to be HTML5 ads. HTML5 essentially just means that it's kind of like the replacement from Flash ads, and we will all remember Flash and SWF files as ads. I hate Flash ads, they're generally so gaudy, but HTML5 is just using HTML, CSS, and JavaScript to achieve interactivity. All of those Rising Stars ads are probably going to be of that type. They are harder to make, of course, but you don't need to make them because, like I said just before, you barely ever encounter them in the typical affiliate marketing traffic sources. Okay, what is the reason for testing networks against one another? Seems that you'd be testing an offer against the same offer, whereas testing two traffic sources would be testing one audience against another audience. Very good question. So the reason we split test networks comes down to several reasons. First of all, technical infrastructure. So not all networks are hosted on the same actual tracking servers and tracking systems. They might use cake marketing or has offers or a custom proprietary platform, and this affects the actual speed and the efficiency of tracking, how quickly people get from A to B, and the amount of clicks that may be lost in that process, which directly impacts your revenue. This is kind of something we'll talk about a bit later in the course as well, but not all networks are made equal in that respect. So all else being equal, 3 separate networks with different kind of tracking systems and everything else being exactly the same, the performance will differ slightly. The second thing is their relationship with the advertiser. So for some of them, they may be direct with the advertiser. For others, they may have brokered through another network, which decreases the payout, and it means you have more jumping in terms of redirecting people to the final destination, which is generally always going to actually lower the performance of that campaign for you. And the other thing is that relationship with the advertiser, the product and service owner. Depending on the history there, the advertiser may give lower payouts to that network because the traffic quality has been lower over their history with them, and the advertisers can actually do more nefarious things like scrubbing and taking leads off that affiliate network to kind of normalize and mitigate their low lead quality. It's something that's frowned upon and everyone hates it, but some advertisers do it, and that depends on their relationship with the affiliate network. So there's actually quite a lot of variables there, which is why you always do split test them. And you would be surprised. So trust me, even when the offers all have the same payout, they all look identical, it's the same landing pages, everything else seems the same. Split test networks, see what happens. Sometimes you might be surprised, both pleasantly and terrifyingly surprised at the results. Okay, what is the underlying system of figuring out what offers go with a particular traffic source? That's a good question. I think the first thing should be thinking about, what is that traffic source and what kind of ads do they deliver? Are they banners? Are they native ads? Are they pop-ups? And so on and so on. And then think about the user intent associated with that. So with all traffic sources, you can kind of run a lot of things because as user intent goes down, the cost of the traffic tends to go down as well. So you can run really expensive high-ticket offers on really cheap, disgustingly terrible pop traffic and still kind of make it work. in terms of figuring out what actually does work, the first thing is you can eliminate certain things based on the compliance and the advertising guidelines of that actual of that traffic source, and just get them straight out of there. Facebook, for example, you can get rid of dating, you can get rid of gambling, you can get rid of adult offers and casual dating and things. There's all those kinds of things that you can just wipe straight off the board for various reasons. But yeah, I guess in the end it does come down to testing. Some people, no one might be running auto insurance offers on a specific traffic source, and you're not quite sure why, and then you actually do run it and you realize that you've got no competition, you actually make it work, and there was no reason people can't actually run it there. So yeah, first of all, just be mindful of what the traffic source is, what it does, the type of users it's actually targeting, and their mindset, their user intent, and how that matches up with things, the compliance and regulatory policies and things of that traffic source as well. And then from there, just test. Another example would be LinkedIn. People on LinkedIn are there for business, right? So there's certain things which probably aren't going to be very applicable advertising candidates for there, like gambling offers, for example. Maybe that will work. Maybe, I don't know, dating offers, for example, on a business site. It's probably just going to, people on LinkedIn are probably just going to be a bit offended if there's dating ads on there because they're there for business, right? So just think about those kinds of things. Who was it who wrote these laws and said this goes with that? No one wrote any laws. That'll all be just distilled from the consensus and experience of the affiliate marketing body and other affiliate marketers that people know. A couple of years in the future, we will have a bunch of new types of traffic sources. So I think having the skill of figuring out what goes with it immediately will be beneficial to us. Sure. So again, take into account all of the factors I mentioned and just test things. In the end, it's the people who actually test things and fail and fail and fail and fail and then find something they succeed at. Those are the people who kind of pioneer what is doing well on traffic sources in this industry. Okay, I want to model the success of many of you in the industry that I admire, and I notice that the affiliate summits have helped some of you meet the right contacts to help for success. Is it too early of thinking about going to ASE? Should we focus on spending a year building our skills, then going? I noticed that Tom got a huge boost. Okay, so first of all, the going to conferences, there's two different reasons why people go. Some people go to try and learn things from the actual speakers. At the affiliate summits, I don't think you're probably going to learn that much. Other people go just to network with other affiliates there. That's kind of the biggest advantage you are going to get from doing that. And other people go to drink and party and catch up with other affiliate marketers as a central meeting point. In terms of when to go, it depends on how much it costs you. If it's going to cost you $5,000 to go there right now, then potentially not worth it. If you're making $500 a day consistently, then that $5,000 might actually be worth it. So you kind of have to balance things up there. Be aware that we are running Affiliate World Asia in Bangkok in December, and I will be there running a workshop. That's going to be much, much better than the affiliate summits, can guarantee that. And then there'll be other conferences coming on from that. So if you do want to pick a conference to actually go to in the future, I have to give a shameless plug here and say come to the Affiliate World conferences. I'd probably get told off if I didn't actually advise that. Okay, native advertising and exchanges. So I believe I answered this question privately, but with native advertising, it's just ad units that are contained within some app or some site and gel with the user experience. So to just sum them up, it's just an ad unit which is directly integrated into a site or a placement or an app to look like it's part of the app rather than being a glaring banner sticking out from some sort of ad spot. And exchanges. So I go over exchanges, DSPs, SSPs and things in week 2. Yep, very, very early on. So I'll leave you guys to watch that video when it comes out to demystify everything there. Okay, some long-winded questions. I've looked over my notes and for the life of me we cannot find the missing verticals. Might ask what the missing verticals were. So this was kind of just a thought-provoking exercise. I didn't really think of missing verticals that I didn't put in there. I just wanted to see what you guys would come up with. But some of the other things people came up with were education, self-improvement, web apps like web hosting and services, and honestly can't even remember the other ones, but there's tons of verticals. Verticals are kind of another arbitrary, well, not arbitrary thing. There's lots of big verticals like dating and gaming and, you know, the entertainment vertical, which then contains lots of little sub-verticals. It's really just, it's like the word niche, okay? You could think of 100 niches and you could start doing something in a certain way on a certain traffic source or build a new offer, and then you call that a new niche. A vertical is kind of like that. Certain offer types come out over the years which kind of define new verticals, and then you might consider something a niche within a vertical, whereas other people consider that a vertical on its own. So don't get too stuck up, too held up on, you know, what verticals are missing from that table. It doesn't really matter so much. Okay, the material on the rising stars was easy, blah blah blah. And sorry about my reading here. I just don't want to read them all out aloud because it will take forever. I'll try to keep the live streams below about an hour so they just don't get too long-winded. Okay. Okay, the rising stars, blah, blah, blah. However, I have to ask, for someone who is non-tech savvy, how accessible are these types of ads? Okay, so again with the rising stars, which seem to be a recurring theme, I wouldn't worry about them too much because you're not going to use them at any sort of entry-level stage. Okay, after day 2, verticals and offer types, should we have gone out and picked some offers? So that task that I gave people was more for people who are already in networks and they just kind of wanted to practice task there. That was just so you could talk to your AM and actually say, give me an offer list, so you can play with that and do it as a dry run. You didn't actually need to pick proper offers and start testing them. Okay, after the reading I've done, off the top of my head, I'm thinking about the bare minimum that I'd need in terms of tools and so on. ACC, Adobe Creative Cloud, volume, VPN hosting, Okay, so first of all, you're going to need, Creative Cloud is great. You don't need Creative Cloud. You can use the earlier apps, and be aware that every Adobe Creative Cloud app, I believe, has a free trial for 30 days, so you might as well just go use that. Volume, you need a tracking system. I talk about tracking systems in week 2, so wait for that to clarify things a little bit. I'll talk about hosting week 2 as well, so you guys have got a lot on your plate this coming week. Week 2 is probably the most intense in terms of content and practical things and technical, frightening things that we go over. So I'll defer to letting you watch those videos. Similar web and what runs where, you don't need those at all. Do not pay for those. They will not be worth it when you're at a very early stage in your affiliate marketing career. The tools that are more focused on the affiliate areas in terms of competitive intelligence, they will be more useful. And spoiler alert, we're going to go over competitive intelligence tools later in the course, and I may have various partnerships and promos lined up for you there so that you actually get to test quite a few of them without breaking your wallet. So again, I'm going to defer and let that just come to pass when it does. Okay, how are you able to dissect an offer in minutes when we should never make an assumption unless there is data? Because I look at the data. So in terms of dissecting the offer, what I mean is getting the offer from like a top list and then looking at similar web and competitive intelligence tools and looking at various markers and things I look for. That's all data, right? It's not data you've run from a campaign, but it would be silly to waste data that has been collected by other people. Your affiliate network, for example, might know from the traffic sent to that offer that 1 million clicks have been sent and it's made $10 in revenue. And despite the traffic source that has been sending those actual clicks, that's data, and it gives you pretty compelling evidence that that offer is crap and that you shouldn't touch it with a 10-foot pole. So you don't necessarily need your own data to make decisions here about offers and so on. So that is my response there. Hey Zeno, hello Benjamin. I know you said that AM can be whatever you make it regarding ethics, but I found that 99% of offers on networks to be more or less shady, with the exception of gaming. You suggest choosing verticals that interest us. Honestly. Okay, so the first thing is you may be in the wrong network. So there's certain networks focus on sweeps, certain networks focus on pin submits, other networks have a lot of legal offers and really, really white hat offers. Some networks focus a lot on gaming, some networks focus a lot on app installs and have, for example, big Chinese developers and have their apps, which are huge, like Clean Master huge, like tens of hundreds of millions of installs. There's a lot of clean verticals and offers out there. You just kind of have to go looking for them. And if you're finding the network you're in is just completely flooded with 99% offers that you find shady, to some extent, or at least they don't fit the criteria that you want offers to fit to run them, then just change networks. It's simple. It's as simple as that. And if you need some help there in terms of recommendations, just hit me up. There are quite a few networks which are very mobile focused in terms of apps and lead gens and things, which they tend to focus a lot more on very, very white hat areas. Okay, what would you consider to be too many verticals if you're trying various things? There's no correct answer here, but I guess it's more a frequency thing. Like if you're trying gaming and then 2 weeks later you're trying sweepstakes and then you say this doesn't work and 2 weeks later you're trying this, and that's obviously bad. But of course you can try gaming for 3 months and then you move to something else and you turn off all your gaming campaigns or you keep them going, and then you try something for a month and you move to something else. It kind of depends on experience and the reasons for why you left that vertical and why you jumped. Was it because you didn't actually put in as much effort as required and you couldn't make it work and you said this isn't working because this vertical sucks, or it's this traffic source, it's someone's fault other than mine? Or did you leave because you made a good run of it but you found that your margins were really slim on the traffic sources because it was so competitive and it was kind of like a race to the bottom? It kind of depends on your reason for actually jumping. If you weren't in gaming, and what would you consider to be the next clean and ethically okay verticals? I don't know. There's a lot of verticals. Retail products. You can make a huge amount of money if you can figure out retail products well. Legal, insurance and financial services. There's a lot of verticals that I'd like to get into, especially to leverage the targeting and the certain parts of Facebook that I just haven't even got into yet. But there's kind of a list of things that I have on my agenda or on my to-do list, so I won't give you any one specific answer there. Okay, PSUR. Okay, whatever. Next one. I'm using pop ads as the main traffic source to test some pin submit offers. I see that the most of the conversions I've got come mainly from 1 to 2 placements. Since I tested less than 10 offers, I don't have what they call statistical significance. Is mine just a case once you find something? Okay, so first of all, with statistical significance, realize that you don't achieve statistical significance. Statistical significance is something that's involved when you're making a comparison between 2 data sets and you're kind of looking at the conversion rate or the click-through rate of a landing page or an offer, and you're seeing that the conversion rate of one is 5.7% and another is 4.9%, and then you look at the actual amount of data you have and use various calculations to see whether that comparison is like statistically significant, or your decision is, and the data's not overlapping to a certain extent. So I tested less than 10 offers. You don't have to test more than 10 offers to achieve statistical significance. Like, that's not a thing. You could test 3 different offers and find out that it's just not working for you. You could test 50 different offers and find out that none of them work as well. It really isn't applied in that scenario. So is mine just a case of once you find out the most converting placements for a given traffic source, these placements in general will always be the converting ones, or at least the placement will convert? Not really. So certain placements do better than others in general, and that just kind of depends on the placement, right? It might depend on how the ad is actually presented to the user. It might be presented less aggressively. It might look more seamless with the site. The demographics using that app or that site might just be more open to converting on the verticals that you're advertising. I don't think that there are any specific placements on traffic sources that are just better than others. There's ones that are crap. Absolutely. There is always going to be ones that you end up adding to a blacklist and you never actually want to see again. You never want them to touch a campaign again. But you're really going to find situations where across verticals and across offers and across campaigns, one or two specific placements are always the best ones. In terms of mastering a traffic source, that's kind of everything, like learning the nuances and bidding and traffic delivery and optimization and placements. It's kind of a holistic, comprehensive thing. Okay, I've read where some marketers got conversions by direct linking, but it would never convert for me. Under what circumstances is it okay to direct link? Okay, this is far too vague a question for me to give you a direct answer. Direct linking and using landing pages, it all depends. So when you use a landing page, your job is to pre-sell that user to convert on whatever offer you're sending them to. The reason you do this is to enhance conversions, but in some cases the offer landing page might be extremely good at this anyway, and then having that landing page in there gives you a loss in terms of people getting to the offer because not 100% of people click through. And then the question is, does your lander increase the user's intent to convert more so than it does lose users through them not clicking through? And depending on the answer will depend, that'll change whether the campaign works better direct linking or through that lander. It's just something to test. There's certain things that you shouldn't direct link because they're just unlikely to work, like direct linking people from Facebook to like a legal offer that's got 30 fields you need to fill and your ad doesn't really explain what they're even doing and you just push them straight to that. That's obviously not going to work because they're going to get there and they're going to be like, what the hell is this? What am I even doing? How did I get here? This ad just said something about some legal thing and now you expect me to fill out a form for a consultation? Like, what am I even doing? You kind of just have to assess what you're actually doing there to test, to decide whether or not direct linking is even worth testing. But in most cases, it's just test it scenario. So someone kind of needs to make a shirt, which is like the Nike shirt, and it just has just tested on it. Okay. I think landers are one of the key elements for success. Will the course provide the most updated lander templates, say in news and so on? So I'll provide some lander templates for mobile. I don't think I'll provide any for Muse because I think you should make your own in Muse. But for mobile, I'll definitely provide some responsive templates for you to use. And what I might do is actually get my developers, my designers, my team to actually make us some landers as we go, based on what everyone actually wants, so that we can provide you more value there. We will talk about landers and the basic template and recipe for a simple lander which will likely do well, and then from there you can kind of make that in Muse. I would much rather show you what a basic lander looks like and let you try and make that yourself than hand everything on a platter, because that doesn't help you when the course ends and when you want to try to do other types of landers and all you've done so far is actually take templates from other people. But yes, we will go over this sometime soon. Banners is another thing. I will talk about banners in another module, and the Photoshop bootcamp I'm doing shortly. I'll talk a little bit about banners in there, but it's not really worthwhile showing you exactly how to make a high converting banner because, to be honest, that doesn't exist. Like, no one can show you how to make the high converting banner. People can show you how to make banners, but you have to test banners with different angles, different ad copy, different images for different campaigns and so on to see what actually works. There's no banner that just is high, that just converts. Okay, moving on. It's Duck's questions. Please explain about the mastermind and the AMC group, how we maximize this. So I talked about masterminds a little bit before, so hopefully that's kind of already answered for most of that. One thing I do intend to do is when we actually get the chat system up, or what I want to do is make it so that to do a mastermind, well, this is my plan, which I haven't been able to implement yet because it's kind of relatively low down on the priority in terms of development, is make a mastermind submission. So if you want to create a mastermind, you can submit a form to us explaining why you're doing it, who the members are, and what your general approach is. Then we can approve it, come back with feedback and say, yes, this is a good idea. And then in the chat system, we'll actually make you a private group and we'll assign a teaching assistant to be part of that mastermind just to oversee and generally pop in and help you guys out if you need any help or if they think you're getting off track. and to just generally give you some advice there. So if you're interested in that, just hit me up in the near future when we have the chat system working again. In terms of how to convince and convert users, what is the big difference between PID submits and usual lead gens and app installs? PID submits require much more from the user, right? The barrier to conversion is much higher, so you just need to kind of make a more compelling argument for why they should actually convert, or balance the low conversion rate with a higher actual payout. There's no specific way on how to convince and convert users to do anything. To be honest, your goal in affiliate marketing, when you're marketing products and services, should really be to provide some sort of benefit or solution to a problem to the users, rather than trying to convince them to do some action and convert on something. That is what you're practically trying to do, but that's kind of not the mindset that you should be in. Now, with PIN submits, I honestly don't run them, so I don't have experience in them, so I can't really tell you what specifically works really well with those and what doesn't, because they're kind of sitting on the line in terms of my what kind of offers I like actually advertising. Lead gens and app installs, they're kind of much easier. Again, focus on what benefit you are actually providing to the user and what problem they may have, whether they're aware of it or not, that this app or this lead generation or this product provides some sort of solution to. Focus on those and you'll have a much better time converting people, and then of course get much better at copywriting and human psychology and conversion psychology, which again is something that we're going to go over later in the course. Right, well, pop-ups is interruption marketing. What is the most important factor to make user interested in it? Ad blocker issues and so on. So I wouldn't worry too much about ad blockers. If people are seeing pop-ups in the first place, then they probably don't have a very good ad blocker on. So the ad blocker is probably just going to lower traffic rather than affect your conversion rates too much. The most important factor in terms of making people interested, it just comes down to like your lander angle and your ad copy and things, and importantly, where the user is coming from. So if someone's coming from a home gardening site and they get sent to a site for a gambling app or something like that, then there's a bit of a disconnect there. But you can't always control these things. If I'm honest, I'm kind of cynical of pop-ups, and I feel like you've got really low user intent traffic and you're just trying to convert people using various scripts and things to kind of trap them in the window a bit, and it's just really low user intent traffic. So I don't think there's any one miracle way to actually make people convert on that traffic. It's just a matter of testing things, especially angles. More and more QAs if I have more free time. We have 15 minutes until the hour mark. Will we be buying Rising Star placements? No, but there are native ad placements available on GoToMobi. What kind of verticals will work in YouTube ads? Very good question. YouTube is kind of an undiscovered market for a lot of affiliates. There's many different ad types there. I can't actually answer that because I don't think there is an answer there. I think a lot of different ad types work. There's a lot of different branded stuff there. Gaming is very big on YouTube. There's a lot of retail products and things as well. So I think a lot of stuff can work there, but you would probably want to focus on the entertainment vertical. Which app manager is more ideal? Very responsive but giving less insight, or unresponsive but sometimes giving a good shortcut, like a winning lander and offer. I would take the middle ground, someone who's moderately responsive and kind of gives you data when you ask for it, but clearly cares about what they're doing, so they're not just helping you out 24/7 and ignoring their other affiliates. It's not great if someone gives you a winning lander, because that means they've probably ripped a lander from other affiliates, which isn't really the greatest sign in terms of the integrity of the network, even though they all kind of do it. Winning offers, affiliate managers should always actually give you information on the top performing offers for their network, so that's just kind of a given. I wouldn't ever call anything a winning offer, because it's only really winning when it's working for your campaign. It's never that, but it's never inherently a winning offer on its own. So take the middle ground there. You'll get different AMs on different networks, different responsivenesses and different kind of experience levels and so on. To be honest, the best affiliate manager is probably the one who just gives you information when you need it and actually gives you the information that you want and helps you scale things in terms of the various things the network can help with scaling. I sometimes see app wall type land ads and landers. What is suitable and how good these work? App walls don't tend to work very well. You tend to send people there with multiple choices, which means, what is your angle? What is your campaign? What are you even promoting? Are you promoting an app wall? Get today's best download. Click on it. It's an app wall. It's not very coherent, is it? So app walls are generally more kind of things to just monetize users when there is no specific targeting or strategy there. So, for example, they're kind of big on incent networks as well, where the users get some sort of micro electronic rewards and tokens and things for actually installing apps. So, honestly, I wouldn't try using app walls for the kind of advertising you're doing. How to make sure user retention is good for an app install. I often see some misleading ways to make people download. Well, there you go. Don't use misleading methods to make people download, and the user retention rate is automatically going to go up. The second thing is actually highlight benefits that app provides, so that when a user installs that app, they're doing it under the premise that it's going to help them with something that it's actually going to help them with. The other thing you should be aware of is that some apps just suck and their user retention will be terrible, and they kind of expect far too much from the affiliate traffic that they're getting, given how good the app itself is and is at holding on to users. Okay, next one. Nope, I didn't scratch your question. I saw that, but I couldn't be bothered. Went through it anyway. Sounds volume is great. Very good. Sound good. Question. I heard a lot of people say some offers are just not going to work with a given traffic source no matter how much you try. So when do you give up on an offer? How far do you go down before you give up on that offer? This really depends on the campaign. It depends on how many things you've tested. It really depends. There's no one solid answer for this. There are definitely offers that won't work on a given traffic source for reasons we've kind of discussed earlier. It's, I guess, a way to approach this is to set out a specific budget for an offer when you go into things, and to see how you do first. So say you go in with an app install which is 30 cents and you run on GoToMobi. You might commit $50 to actually testing that app across several geos, split testing iOS and Android, and split testing various things, various banners, and pushing things. And then maybe your process is 2 rounds of optimization in terms of culling the weak placements and the weak banners to see how it goes, and then split testing other angles. Now, if you do several rounds of optimization and you've spent $50 on that 30-cent app and you've never got ads to above like negative 30% ROI, that's probably a good sign to just cut that offer. You really just need a systematic process and something kind of written down that you abide by, that's reasonably intelligent, and that experienced affiliates tell you is, that's a reasonably good approach. There's never a specific time for when you give up on an offer. Like if you're on Facebook or AdWords and you've got an offer that's got a $200 conversion value, you're probably going to push a lot more in terms of making that work, and you're going to invest a lot more budget than you're going to do on a 30-cent app install. Similarly, you might have an app that is able to be advertised in 50 different countries, so you might not give up as soon because you haven't tested as many, because it takes longer to test more countries. So again, really kind of comes down to you. If you're really concerned about that, I suggest you just write out a process and a checklist. And again, we're going to go through this later in the course. You guys are all kind of asking questions which will be a bit more relevant to later material. But if you do want to write like a process there, you can send it to one of us and ask for feedback on whether or not that is a good approach. What's the difference between hot offers in the dashboard of your affiliate network and asking your affiliate manager what's hot? I don't know. How do they actually compute that hot offers? Where does that come from? Is it updated daily? Is it updated weekly? Is it updated monthly? How do they actually get that? How do they actually put those values in there? I have no idea, which is why you ask your AM, because they are kind of going to be the real-time, more accurate source. Any good books besides cash advertising? There's a lot of good books out there on copywriting and things. And again, I'm going to defer that to when we actually talk about angles and copywriting, and I actually mention multiple books and resources for you guys to look at. Where can I find the Photoshop training video from day 4? That's on its way. I decided to remake that and then kind of got demotivated last night when all my videos got lost. Question, I've been using AdWords for this course. We're learning a DSP. How much skills are transferable? Okay, so AdWords is a completely different traffic source to mobile display. The ad types are different, the user intent is different, the way you target is different. They're very completely different, but a lot of the skills you get in affiliate marketing in general are transferable completely across all of them. Tracking, split testing, angle generation, copywriting, conversion psychology, market research, your optimization processes, scaling, interacting with and networking with affiliate managers to help you scale and things. These are all transferable things that you might do in any vertical on any campaign or traffic source, and those are directly transferable. So when you jump between those traffic sources, you just kind of have to be mindful of the differences between them, and then everything else, that's all kind of transferable skills. Dr. No once mentioned that the guys he knows are making all the big bucks all run campaigns not on DSPs but on Facebook, Google, Adult, Pop, and so on. Do you agree with these? So first of all, you can make money on sort of every traffic source, and at this point in time the question is, how much are you making? Are you making $5 a day, $10 a day, $100 a day, $1,000 a day? If you're wanting to make $100 a day as your first milestone, then it's probably putting the cart before the horse to think about, jumping into Facebook, because that's the only place you're going to make $50,000 a day. Like, that's not a smart way to think about things. Those are things you can move into when you have the competency, skills, and networking and the leverage to actually do that kind of thing. So the reality is some traffic sources have a lot more traffic from others than others. GoToMobi is never going to compare to Facebook. It's just fundamentally not going to happen in terms of the amount of traffic there. Similarly with Google, like the amount of revenues those companies do just like dwarf most DSPs by a long way. And then in the DSP market, there's big differences as well, because different DSPs connect with different exchanges. Some DSPs connect with more. Some DSPs have access to a lot more impressions per day. You can still do a lot of money on DSPs, so I wouldn't worry about that. If you're worried, for example, that you're only ever going to make like several $100s a day on something like GoToMobi, that's false. Pretty sure you could very easily, well, not easily, you could readily, if you had the right campaign and the right geography, be spending well over $10,000 a day on GoToMobi on one country. Okay, adult traffic like Qzx900, there's a lot of adult traffic out there, but be aware in the tier 1 geo, so these countries like France and Germany, United States, United Kingdom, and so on, adult is very, very competitive and the margins are very, very slim. So expect people on adult who are spending big bucks to actually only making 10, 20, 30% margins on a lot of that traffic, which where you can make much higher margins in other places. Pop traffic like pop ads and ad cache. Again, there's a lot of traffic there, but nothing compared to like Facebook and Google, and it's very low intent, cheap traffic, so it's a game of volume versus pricing and user intent. But I don't think any of these specific sources have anything over DSPs. If you wanted to, you could scale campaigns to pretty much every exchange via multiple DSPs, and you would be spending a lot of money. I don't think you need to worry about how much money you can actually spend on these platforms and how much you can make. Trust me, that is a future problem. Okay, in regards to challenges we face in AM, consistency is one of them. There are caps, paused offers, and so on. If you're hitting big, an offer contributes 80% of your revenue, boom, it's pulled. How do you deal with it? First of all, learn how to deal with that stress, because that's extremely stressful. Never put all your eggs in one basket. So if you have one offer and it's doing all of your revenue, or a lot of your revenue, why are you not split testing across networks? If it's working as well across multiple networks, those networks will have their own budgets given to them by the advertiser. So you kind of disperse things a bit in terms of the budget available to you as the advertiser by using multiple networks. And of course, you should always be testing other things. You should focus on a campaign when it's working well and try and milk it for all it's worth. while also being kind of diligent with diversifying your traffic and where that revenue is coming from, if that's possible. And then just be mindful of the fact that things do eventually go down, and there's nothing that you can do about that. If it does go down and it got pulled because budget ran out, then just monitor it closely and arrange something so that the moment it comes back up, you know about it and can start doing it again. Okay, here are more questions. Okay, how much more do we have left? Not that many. Cool. Okay, so I was through this since we're hitting about the hour mark. What are lenient traffic sources that allow ads such as do you have a virus, and how do we compete against compliant affiliates who are not allowed to run such ads? So first of all, those you have a virus landers are scum, so I'm not even going to tell you about lenient traffic sources because I wish those landers just disappeared. If it's a lenient traffic source and allows that kind of crap, then it's going to be a terrible traffic source in terms of like the actual quality of the traffic coming through anyway. And be aware that even though the traffic source might be letting those landers through, they may be cloaked, so the traffic source hasn't actually approved those. Be aware they are typically non-compliant with the advertiser, so if you're caught, you're going to generally lose your revenue, potentially be kicked out of the network. So honestly, I don't think this should be a focus at all. What are affiliate networks' profit margins on offers? Typically, it depends on your payout and how much they drop things to help you scale and to help you make money, because in the end they're always making a margin, so they kind of want you to be pushing those offers. Typically you're probably looking at between 5 and 30%, I suppose. How does the advertiser make money on offers such as sweepstakes and app installs? App installs is easy. They monetize the users in the apps by different methods, either freemium models like in games where you have to buy tokens to get upgrades and things, and various other ways, like upgrade the app to have more than one antivirus scan, like in a security app per week or something like that. Sweepstakes, they usually sell that lead or that email to a lot of they broker it off to a lot of companies who then email those people and they pay for that lead. So some of them can sell your email to like 20 different companies. Do advertisers ever run campaigns internally? Yes, they do. Since they can know so much information in other people's camps, yes, absolutely. Most advertisers do run their own stuff as well. I mean, why wouldn't you? You're paying affiliates to send you traffic, and you're learning a lot from that. So it's kind of like a pro and a con. Pro, they get other people sending them traffic. Con, they could be buying that traffic themselves and running it and completely kick you out in terms of the actual margins and so on. So yes, lots of advertisers will run their own campaigns as well. What kind of offers and verticals can make you millions of dollars? This is kind of, again, one of those future questions, like does it really matter at this point, but just all of the big verticals. Financial services, legal, auto insurance, education, gaming, app installs, sweepstakes, almost a lot of them can make $1 million. But do you mean revenue or profit? Because revenue, sure, but profit, that's kind of a completely separate situation. Will we be taught how to create and optimize landing pages? Yes. I've also got some questions specifically for you. What were you doing before AM? I started playing around with affiliate marketing when I started a PhD in New Zealand in physical chemistry, and I just kind of did it as a side hobby for a while. What are the struggles and the hardest things you had to face building your AM company? Flying to Hong Kong and filling out forms. The hardest struggles were probably just cash flow and things initially. When did you start and first discover affiliate marketing? 2011, I think. I bought an ebook by Viperchill, if you know of that guy, about making mini sites and doing SEO and things, and that was how I first started getting into things. At what point did you make your first million? No comment. What kind of offers do you like to run most? I like gaming. Going to ASA for the affiliate summit. What's ASA? For the first time, what can we do to prepare for that, and what can we expect? I don't know, clarify it there. Which conference do you mean? I assume you mean a conference. I'll be missing week 2, days 5 and 6 because of work. How detrimental? Days 5 and 6. Not too detrimental, but to be honest, you can catch up on the videos at any time. It really depends on you. I've kind of tried to make this so that it fits into your schedule, so you can do videos whenever you want. Will we still have access to the videos after the course is over? Yes, you will. Curious to know what niche Xeno, Tom, and Amy specialise in. You can ask them yourselves. I like gaming, but I kind of do a bunch of things. At the moment, I'm a bit flooded with this offer called AMC, which is taking a lot of my time. For the offer that you've picked for us to work with in week 3, what was the criteria? Did you reach out to your AIM and ask, blah, blah, blah? So the criteria is kind of that it's a broad appeal offer that caters to making lots of different angles. It's nice and clean and white hat and scalable, so it's something that everyone can happily promote in terms of the moral side of things and ethics and so on, because I know most people, including myself, don't like pin submits and sweeps and so on, so we're definitely not running those. I'm not going to reveal too much more about the offer, but in terms of figuring out what worked, I kind of had the best idea of what kind of things I wanted for the challenge, so I just went through a lot of different networks and basically shortlisted things and then talked to networks directly about what is and what isn't working. You have to ask this. I couldn't just pick something and say we're doing that, because that would be very, very silly. How to connect with a good AM in a network, or how to change a bad one. You'll just get assigned one in general, and if you don't like them, just email the network general support or someone else in the network, their email or whatever, and ask for a different AM. This is a very regular thing to happen. Okay. How to find websites from specific ad networks. Any tips? So websites that are using specific ad networks will typically have ads which have specific URLs associated with them, and the way to find these is generally to use competitive intelligence tools, which can kind of give you information about where traffic for these ad networks is coming from. Again, that's going to be something that we talk about in the competitive intelligence tools section, so I won't talk about that now. Never really hear any success stories about retail products. Is it just because it's hard to make the offers work? Yes, I suppose so. When I say retail products, I'm kind of meaning physical retail products like clothing and t-shirts and I don't know, like garden hoses. I don't know. I'm not talking about like Amazon stuff, but more other retail things. And to be honest, I don't have much experience there. I think the problem is it's all kind of cost per sale. It's all people buying things. So you really have to find the right traffic and the right users and the right intent there for people who are actually interested in buying those things for that to actually work. So it's kind of a bit more complex than something relatively broad appeal with a much lower barrier to conversion. I mean, imagine trying to get people to convert on buying, a spade or a shovel. That's, for an affiliate marketer, you'd just be like, what? How am I going to do that? Okay. ClickBank as well is like digital products. They're kind of almost similar in a way, and those are a lot easier to promote. If you go back in time, what would you change with your AM career? I don't think I'd change anything. Actually, when I was in one of my years of university as doing a PhD, I was searching for a place to live for that year on my own, and I decided to get a nice apartment so that I could kind of hustle and work from there. And then that turned out to be a terrible decision because basically Facebook went downhill at the time, and my scholarship and things like that barely even covered all of my rent and expenses, not including like my affiliate marketing testing. And I didn't like being in that situation where I was kind of at a negative ROI every week if I did nothing. That was the status quo. So that was a bit silly. But I wouldn't really change anything. Retrospectively, I don't really think too much about how I could have done things too much better. I don't think about it that much. Okay, GoToMobi bonus clarification. Do we need to make the deposits within 6 weeks, or is it applicable for life? Would it be okay to make 10 to 15 smaller deposits totaling 4K to be eligible for the 1K bonus? The bonuses last for until 6 months after the end of this challenge, which is June, I think, of next year. So you're eligible for them for a long time. Probably so long that it's almost infinite, but it's not for life. Definitely not for life. And yes, you can make 10 to 15 smaller deposits to be eligible. It's a total deposit measure. So you can make 100 deposits to get to that. You can make 1 deposit to get to that amount. Once you pass those tiers in terms of the 1,000 threshold and the 4,000 total threshold, that's when you qualify for those bonuses. Okay, I have one more notification. What's going on? Someone registering. Unread threads. Okay, I'll just make sure there's no questions I'm missing. I don't think so. If we get an offer working in an ad network, does it make sense to getting multiple ad network accounts to get more traffic? Do you mean like DSPs? Yes, this makes sense. You should learn one traffic source, and I really recommend GoToMobi for a few reasons, which I'll go through later if we're talking about mobile DSPs. But GoToMobi can't offer traffic from exchanges that it's not connected to. So when you want to scale something, it makes sense to connect to other platforms where you can access other exchanges and therefore other placements and publishers and traffic that GoToMobi can't offer. In an ideal scenario, if you like GoToMobi and your optimization process works well there and you find things work better there, you can always go to another traffic source, and if there is overlapping exchanges, actually turn those off so that you're not competing directly with yourself on another DSP. Be aware that you will do that. So if you're on two DSPs, you're bidding for the same traffic on like Smarto Exchange, you're a separate advertiser and you're bidding against yourself. That's not ideal. So yeah, scaling, use different platforms for sure. Thanks, Dino, for your Q&A. Not a problem. Right, that's pretty much everything that I can see. If no one has any other questions, I think I will cut things off soon. I'm going to disappear for a moment and have a drink since my voice is getting kind of dry, and my throat's getting dry. And I'll come back and address the thread in about 1 minute. Okay, that looks to be pretty much it. The last question which I'll answer is, do ad networks offer a list of websites that they advertise on? It depends on the network. You can always ask, but DSPs like GoToMobi and the various other ones you work with, typically you can actually just jump straight into those and then go to make a campaign and try to target certain placements and see a list directly. So yes, for the most part, you can actually see these, but it depends on the network. Some networks are blind, where they don't tell you the sites at all. All they give you is an ID. So some networks are blind, some networks are transparent. It really depends. But you can just kind of ask, or you can dive in and have a look. If it's a blind network, they're just not going to tell you. When was the last time you had a profitable offer on GoToMobi? Just curious because you like Facebook. I haven't done DSP stuff on GoToMobi for quite some time, but don't worry, because we will have someone helping there who is much, much better on GoToMobi than me. Okay, that is pretty much it. So I'm just going to kill things off because things are getting pretty long. So any questions after right now? I'm fine. What is the course ranking in our dashboard? So that is something that I'm going to add a little bit later, where it's based on your activity, and I won't give away too much, but we will kind of have some engagement metrics there to tell you about how you're performing compared to your cohort in terms of your actual activity on the platform, in terms of tasks and chat and so on. According to you, what's the hottest vertical at the moment? It seems sweepstakes have great results. I think there never is a hottest vertical. To be honest, it just depends on the networks you're looking at, the people who are doing things. So, for example, sweepstakes might be really hot right now on certain networks, but the reality may be that compared to lead generation for financial services and legal services, they may be doing 10 times as much revenue, like on the global scale, compared to sweepstakes consistently, but then legal's not considered hot, even though it's making a lot more revenue. So at the moment, if I was to look at all the networks to see what they're kind of focusing on, and the typical very mainstream affiliate networks, the hottest, the ones that they're kind of focusing on, are definitely sweepstakes and pin submits, because they are very, very popular on mobile at the moment. In terms of results, I think these are completely disconnected. I think because a vertical's hot doesn't mean you're going to have great results with it. It just means that some people somewhere are making these work, and there's a lot of advertisers jumping on things. So be aware that a vertical being hot kind of requires multiple things. It's not just multiple affiliates making it work and pushing lots of revenue. It's kind of the advertisers as well actually coming up with all of these offers that they keep adding to affiliate networks for people to run, and then eventually things may change. It may not get as profitable because of the market changing. Regulatory things may come in and quash certain ways of advertising and make it harder for advertisers to legally kind of comply with regulatory bodies when they do these types of offers. So it kind of goes up and down. It's a combination of the front and the back end. But at the moment, yeah, pin submits and sweepstakes, both kind of the hottest thing, but not what we're doing in the 6-week challenge. Okay, that's it. I'm going to quit before I actually see another question come up. I'm literally moving it off screen. That's it for this live stream. Thank you for joining me. What I'll do now is this will be saved and re-uploaded in the same format that it usually is done for all the modules, so you'll be able to watch it again at any time and look at the actual live Q&A thread to see all the questions that I was going through there. Now for the next live streams, again, try to keep the topics kind of relevant to ideally the modules we have done that week or stuff we've done in past weeks. If it's a super burning question about something we're going to go over later, it's probably better to just ask me in private chat so that the live Q&As are relatively coherent and focused on the content for the week. Some live streams in the future I may need to change the times on just because of other things that are happening in my life and so on. But for the most part, they should all be at around this time relatively consistently. Okay, that's it for the first live stream, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Zeno signing out.